In this video, I'm going to share with you my plan for EURUSD in the upcoming week. When you finish today's video, head over to the link in the description and join my free trading course. Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to break down EURUSD, show you what it is that I expect the market to do this week, and where I'll be looking to trade it from and to. Now for this video, I've swapped my background to black. I'm recording on a new iMac and I'm not sure whether it's a problem with my recording software or if it's a problem with some settings I have somewhere, but when I run my normal blue background, it does make some crazy colors on the screen, kind of unpleasant to watch. So we're going with black. Hopefully this isn't too bad. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. But without further ado, let us dive into the analysis. Now we've started here on the monthly chart because I really wanted to break down Euro from the top down here and show you what it is I expect this to do. What I'm anticipating could potentially happen here on EURUSD is for this low to break down and for price to trade into the boundaries of this large monthly imbalance. Now, whether or not that will happen is yet to be decided. We would need to see what the technicals suggest, and for the dollar to rally that heavily against the euro could be a little bit far-fetched fundamentally, but we'll have to see because we do have a lot of fundamental tensions going on, which could potentially drive the EURUSD prices down. So we don't really need to worry too much about this, but I wanted to give you an overall picture. The reason being we're trading intraday or intra-week, so we don't need to worry about those huge swing movements. But if we look at the timeframes here on the weekly, we can actually see that price has fallen down within this downtrend after hitting supply here, formed these lower lows and lower highs, and has now hit a weekly demand zone. So if we mark out this indecision candle like so, we can see that prices came into the weekly demand and has actually started to show some nice buying pressure coming into the market. So for this week, it would be silly to ignore this demand and the imbalance above, and we could potentially look to target some buys to take through the imbalance into some of these inefficient price areas. So heading down a little bit lower now to look at the daily time frame, we can clearly see that rejection going on. If we scale the zone down as well to around this area here, we can have a look on the 4 hour if there's a better refined zone to go with. And on the 4 hour here, we can actually see there is one heavily imbalanced candle, which we can draw up to this point here. So marking the high to the low of this blue candle, this would be the final inefficient zone in all of this price action. All of these previous ones have been retested. We can now scale all the way back to current price, and we'll see that the market reacted very nicely within that zone. So here on the 4 hour, hopefully you can see an idea of what it is that I'm trying to suggest. We are probably going to come and fill through this imbalance, potentially higher, but I would say most certainly through this imbalance based on obviously high probabilities. So we may be able to get some buys on EURUSD from this demand just to trade through this imbalance price area and hit some of these supply regions. So now dropping down to the hourly time frame, we can get a better indication of what the market is doing on the near term. And as we can see, we've had this lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and we just broke out to a new higher high. Now, while we have formed essentially the first break of structure that we need to see, we do still have supply in the way, as we can see here, indicated by this supply zone. So it does look like we're pushing through this. Now, obviously, for this to be a full invalidation, we would need to push over this level as well. So what I would like to see happen on EURUSD is the market continue pushing up and break through this level, and that will then confirm this open imbalance. And I think you can clearly see there that imbalanced supply zone that we'd be using as our target, which brings us back into around 1.1. So if we can break to the upside, we have around 100 pips of potential to take through into that 1.1 level. But obviously we will be looking for a better entry somewhere down in the extreme here to get that full buy on. So going down to the 30-minute now, we can really assess what's happening in the current price action. And well, we can first of all see the zone has been retested. We've shown a large bullish impulse, which has broken a structure point. But we do have the resistance here of the supply zone in the way. So it would be a little bit risky to go with buy limit buys on from, this area, for example. So the few scenarios I'm looking at, first of all, will be simply if the market reacts to this supply, because we've had the initial shift, that is indication we could go bullish, but then the supply has held it down, so we don't want to use buy limits. I'll be looking for price to come back into this demand zone here, obviously an imbalanced demand. And if price can come into there, following, for example, a 30 or 15-minute downtrend like this, when price then hits that area, I will be looking for a new shift to confirm the direction in line with the high time frames. And when we get that, we can look within this price action, probably going to be looking towards the 15 and 10-minute time frames at this point to find a clear demand zone that the market took off from. And then what we can do is put buy limits on there. And when the market comes in, we can actually just take the market straight up towards that 1.1 in quite a high probability setup. So the reason I'll do this is because obviously we do have confirmation here, but we do have a little bit of conflict here. So we'd prefer to see the low time frames agree once we hit that high interest area so that we know we're going with a high probability move rather than just buying straight in without that additional confirmation, without the low time frames agreeing with us. Now, while it does look like that is the scenario that's currently happening, there could also be the possibility of the market just pushing straight up through this. And if that happens, I will then once again look for the pullback down. But at this point, I'd be more confident to actually go ahead with buy limits straight into that area. The reason being, we will have the higher time frame fully agreeing with us here, little to no conflict whatsoever, with an open imbalance to go and trade through. So if we can first of all push up and break this high, I would be happy to go with a buy limit here, and we could potentially then also assess the possibility of the market coming in and just forming continuations like this. So we could have buy limits on down here and then look at confirmation trades up here in case of the other possibility. And those are essentially the two large scenarios I'm looking for here on EURUSD. Now that we've had that break, now that we've had this supply hit, we either want to see a breakout and then we can confidently buy with buy limits down here, or we can look for confirmation moves and continuation moves up. Or if the market does react from here, as it looks like it may be right now, we can wait for price to come into here on the lower time frames, namely the 15, 10, and 5-minute time frames. Look for a flip once we hit this area, and then we can actually buy into that and follow that shift of momentum on the low time frames from down to up to trade through into our 1.1 target. So that's all for this video. That is what I'm expecting to see on EURUSD. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do drop a like and feel free to subscribe. That helps the channel grow. And if you do change your mind, you can always unsubscribe later. Most importantly, I hope you found some value from this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.